Cool. Yeah. Welcome everybody. And for those joining us afterwards via the recording, today is our March 1st SIG Usability meeting. So welcome all. Cool. So I wanted to, just open it up in case anybody, we were kind of chatting offline a little bit, but if anybody wants to like introduce themselves or just talk about like how they heard about the SIG and just like kind of like what they're hoping, if they're just listening in or just kind of like hoping to get involved in some way. So pretty open.
I can just say hi. This is actually my first meeting I've been to. I've been working with Kubernetes type products for quite a while now, and was aware that you guys existed, but never actually formally reached out or tried to get involved. And so looking to potentially do that in the future.
Cool.
Like I said, I work at Docker right now.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
I'd also like to say hello. This is my first meeting as well.
Yeah.
So I just volunteered to do the user research kind of thing, and I'm here for the follow-up that you mentioned.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll definitely get to the jobs to be done update. Yeah. So you're welcome in the chat. But yeah, thank you for your help. Is it Subhasmita? Am I saying your name right?
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Cool. And then I know we have Patra on the call. So hello, and Pavel, who has been with us before.
Hi everyone.
Hey Patra.
Yeah, I'm Cleopatra. This is actually my first meeting, even though I worked with Gabby like for 6 months.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. While working with her, I totally forgot that we had a monthly meeting. So yeah, this is my first time.
Welcome. Glad you can make it. Yeah. So Cleopatra was our intern through it was the Linux Foundation, right? Right, Cleopatra?
Yeah.
Yeah. Worked with us for 6 months, and yeah, all the great like annotations that we have on our jobs to be done transcripts are kind of like thanks to you. So thank you for joining. Yes, good to see you on the call. Cool. And then, but Pamal, you've joined us before, so but do you want to give a little background just for the people that are new on the call?
Yeah, hi all. I've been with the SIG. The date actually was launched with Gabby and Tasha. We started the conversation together, but I've been out for like 6 months, I would say, because I was really busy. But now I'm back. I'm really excited to actually see what's going on. I was going through the agenda, like I had to go back to finding like where the meeting and all was. So kind of like, I think Gabby, I wanted to talk to you. There's Slack, but how do I get in touch? Like what's happening right now, like where we are at? So there's like a history of things. Just
really our active project right now is the jobs to be done project. We do like a mix of like talking on the Slack about it, but then also because we interviewed people and we don't want to like be like super public about like their like information, then we end up doing some like private messaging offline. So that's why it's like partly visible and then like partly just like, but that's our main project still today. And then obviously like we're always open to just like people like submitting proposals for new projects. That's also still kind of like open to that, but yeah, I think that the update for the jobs to be done update is really the only thing that we were planning on covering today. So I'll cover a little bit of that. I know there's some people on the call as well that are involved in that. So we'll give a quick update and then open it up. And I think that's it for today. But yeah. So cool. So hopping over to a quick jobs to be done update. We have a project plan right now to get through our 12 user interview transcripts by the end of April. So we have March, we have April, and just like the big update is that we kind of like send out Cleopatra on the call here has already gone through and tagged quite a few of the interviews. And what we're hoping to do is, because jobs to be done can be like so subjective, is we want to get 2 people kind of like going through and just kind of like just doing like not a pair, but just kind of like a sanity check. So we're Subasmita is one of those people that's going through and just kind of like contributing in that way. So yeah, Subasmita, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but do you have any just like anything you want to say just about like how the process has been for you so far, or just generally kind of like how it's been for you going through the transcripts?
Forgot to tell. Well, the process is like I followed the tutorial that you posted
Mhm.
last week. It was quite helpful, but I don't actually get what we are trying to do after the transcripts that are already marked, that
Mhm.
are tagged, and what we are going to do with that. Should we proceed with like as it was in the tutorial, like synthesis and all of the analytics stuff, or we should just a quick overview and quality check, like all of the tagging is correct and
Yeah. So two kind of like answers there. We, as far as like what we want to do with all of the tags, we at some point we'll get together, you know, like in April, the synthesis part. And I think something that we'll do is kind of start talking about like, you know, what are like the high level like stages of kind of like somebody's experience with Kubernetes, you know, because in the interviews we're tagging things related to, you know, I want to like tasks like related to monitoring and troubleshooting and onboarding, and it's a little bit like all over the place, but I feel like just that's normal at this stage. So we're gonna get like a huge variety of tasks that we highlight and that we surface. So yeah, and so you saw the tutorial. That's very fine grained. So you're going through the transcripts right now. You're kind of like double checking some of the highlights and the annotations that have already been made, but also, you know, you're kind of looking for, are there other opportunities to highlight additional tasks as well? And so that all is normal. And then we'll kind of like start grouping them into, again, like those phases. And so the idea is to kind of like get almost like a map of somebody's kind of like high level experience with Kubernetes and the very specific things that they do to kind of like interact with Kubernetes. So that's kind of like what we're working towards. And I can probably send you a picture of what that might look like.
I did see that that mind map thing in the
Yeah.
PPT. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're talking about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you know, and that one Carl had like just like many other stages, and they're all kind of like related to like, you know, because Kubernetes is such like is for kind of like these like platform builders, you know, and so those like phases I used here are kind of like the elements of yeah, like what it means to kind of like build and maintain a platform with Kubernetes. So but yeah.
So like on update on my part is I went through as assigned the first interview, and I just double checked it. I added one or two, maybe some additional tagging, and rest everything was fine.
Awesome. How long was the interview that you went through?
It was kind of like 56 minutes.
Okay, so it was a fair amount of time.
Yeah,
With,
but since everything was already labeled, so it didn't take much time.
cool. Yeah, I went through my interview as well. I'll talk generally about the interview that I went through, not too specifically, but maybe just to see if they talked about anything like similar. So mine was an engineering manager, which was a little different because they're not like hands-on with Kubernetes, but they have been in the past. Like they were an SRE in the past, and they were a developer in the past as well. But then like their current role is kind of like management for, let me remember, operationalizing a Kubernetes platform. So maybe like some of the interesting things that I've found about that one were that she has a lot of like alignment work that she does with the upstream community, like trying to like make sure that whatever they're working on kind of like aligns with the upstream Kubernetes project, and kind of like looking for opportunities to contribute upstream. So that was kind of something different, maybe like something interesting that I saw in there. So I don't know if you had like any similar things. Oh, I think the audio, you're on mute.
So the interview I went through was about he was an SRE on a company, and he also runs a startup where he uses Kubernetes very extensively. And for the day-to-day task, they they keep the cluster loads maintaining and keep running. So they maintain that, and also he has been using Kubernetes for like 4 years, but not uh, like only in the VMs, not in the traditional way, not like in the clouds, but they have been shifting to it recently. So they also maintain the nodes from like 200 to 3,000 nodes.
200, nice.
Yeah, and they frequently they share their knowledge. Like I found that a funny part. They educate themselves in the team. They have meetings, regular meetings, where they share their one person who is a knowledgeable one, he teaches the others about what he learned in the week, and that's how they interact. And he's kind of currently very lightly contributing to the Kubernetes docs after using like Kubernetes for 6 years. So yeah, that's. And
Cool.
his team, he wasn't actually using Kubernetes in the first place. He was more into like monitoring part, and then he moved to the SRE team. So after that, he started using it.
Nice.
So he's currently like also learning. He first got his like interest in contributing to Kubernetes and open source in the KubeCon event, and over there after that he started a little bit of community work.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So maybe I have a couple notes here as well. One of the things that I noticed from going through the transcripts that was challenging for me, and was kind of like when we're highlighting, a lot of tools are mentioned. So for example, like Datadog and Grafana, Splunk and Datadog. So a lot of people mentioned the tools, and so I'll still highlight that, but like from the tutorial video, it's interesting because I know like Kubernetes is like so technical for technical people, but at the same time, like the tools change so quickly that I find myself thinking a lot about like, yes, they were using Datadog, but why are they using it, and like what are they trying to achieve? And so sometimes I was kind of like making notes like, I think that they're trying to understand the state of kind of like their like this specific part of the platform. Like I would kind of like try and like put in notes like that. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to mention that because it was something that I felt was coming up like quite often. From a high level, I think one of the things that just some background on kind of like the methodology that this is based on, this methodology kind of assumes that technology changes often and that solutions change often. So, you know, what Kubernetes is doing today, you know, is very likely that in 5 years, you know, what people are still going to be trying to do the same thing. Like they're going to be trying to like, I don't know, like we're trying to figure out like what that kind of like high level goal is, whether it's like building and operating a platform or kind of like what that is. But it's interesting and challenging to kind of stay like technology agnostic in this analysis, if that makes sense. So.
Gabby, how many volunteers do you already have for the synthesis? I was just reading the doc and you're calling for volunteers, right? To synthesize the data.
Yeah, we have, Patra was kind of like did an initial pass, Cleopatra, of the interviews. So, and then we also have Subhaznita, and then two others, Emily and let me just double check. Emily and Ashutosh.
Okay, cool. And
So we have
are we just doing Google Docs for like capturing notes, or are we using a different tool?
We're using Tetra Insights.
Okay.
So Tetra Insights did this really nice, like these transcripts, and it lets us kind of like highlight and annotate the transcripts, and then kind of like helps you with like tracking all of like the highlights and stuff. So we're trying it out. You know, it's cool.
Sounds great. So I guess you have 12 interviews to synthesize, right? In total, and you have 6 folks. Okay.
Yeah. And we've, so everybody, we have 4 reviewers right now. And so everybody has 3 interviews that they're reviewing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know if you need help. Happy to help.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. That would be awesome. Maybe for the part after this, which is like the synthesis.
Yeah, just looking through everybody's trying to make.
Yeah, when we start trying to pull out like the big high level like stages and stuff like that.
Sounds good. Yeah, I like doing that. So
yeah,
sure.
Nice.
Yeah, but very interesting thing about the tools, right? I think just because you mentioned Datadog, Splunk, very monitoring, troubleshooting focused tools for Kubernetes, but there are so many other tools as well that are not just, and Grafana is also very much like looking at data and synthesizing and using it to display the visual elements of the data. But there's so many tools that don't do just monitoring and troubleshooting, and they're like looking into, you know, just supporting Kubernetes functions overall for an application. Yeah, that would be a very interesting thing to just look like what are the tools that they actually talk about, and then more like, you know, in their day-to-day work. Because like you said, so many tools just keep coming up in terms of supporting application management.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Yeah, so that's kind of the update. I've been taking notes just on kind of like things that I'm like, oh, here's one that was also interesting. So in my interview, one of the tasks was building operators, like the person's building operators. And so, you know, again, from like a why type perspective, you know, I went ahead and highlighted all of that. I feel like it's like really good. But it's interesting, kind of like, why are they doing so? Is it to kind of like extend, but that feels a little bit like broad. But because one of the things that people have mentioned in previous interviews is that they love the Kubernetes, goodness gracious, the API and kind of like the high level, like the native objects, right? So I hesitate to say that building operators is like just extending Kubernetes or automating tasks, because, you know, there, it feels like there's an opportunity to be a little bit more specific, like what are they trying to achieve with the operator? But the thing is, like, without actually having gone into it during the actual interview, I feel like we don't have that information. So keeping it at a high level, I think, works as well. But that was also just an interesting point. Okay, awesome. Well, I think that's all we have for today. Thank you so much to all of our contributors. Thank you, Subhas Media, for hopping on the call. Ashutosh had sent his update over Slack, so he was able to go through his interview as well. Pretty much, you know, tagged and replied to a couple of them. Cleopatra, if you're getting email updates about like people commenting on your on your annotations, that's probably why, but it's all normal. So
Yeah,
no
I've
worries
noticed.
there. Yeah.
Must
So-
have gone a couple of from mine.
yeah.
Yeah, I have. Since
Yeah, so that's all part of the process. So cool. Well, yeah, other than that, if anybody has anything else that they would like to talk about, but if not, I think that's all we have for today. So cool. Thank you. You know, the best way I think right now to get in touch with us is through the SIG Usability Slack channel. So definitely like feel free to communicate with us through there. And thank you all for coming to our monthly meeting. See y'all at the next one.